Alright, yeah, welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and back to a very special edition of the Arena. We're actually sponsored by Wizards of the Coast today because they gave me early access to the new D&D set, which means I can get content for you guys out on day one. So really appreciate them bringing back these kind of events. It does help out content creators a great deal and means that you guys get content as the set releases. So if you want to see some sweet new decks, hopefully you get to see them today. So, let's talk about the deck, shall we? Today we're going to be playing in Standard with a archetype we've played before, but my favourite way to play in Standard at the moment, that is Warsinger Aggro. Venerable Warsinger is the build around here, the 1 red and white for a 3/3 with Vigilance and Trample. This one came from Strixhaven, so it's still relatively new, and still a lot of fun. Doesn't see a great deal of play in Standard right now, and I'm hoping that will change, because this card is sweet. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you return a target creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of damage the Warsinger dealt to that player. So it's kind of like a mid-rangey aggro reanimation list, and I love that I could put all of those things into the same description for this deck. It's absolutely beautiful. So, the whole point of the deck is to mid-range our opponent, creating large creatures, and Warsinger is just one of those because it can allow us to reanimate our creatures along the way. So let's talk about the new D&D additions to this one before we get into kind of the main idea of the deck, just in case you guys have seen it before and you want me to just showcase the new stuff. So, we got 3 new cards in the deck. Some of them might be a bit of a meme. Some of them maybe not so much. So the first one we've got is Critical Hit, a 2-mana instant, gives target creature double strike until the end of the turn, which means if we apply this to a Warsinger, we actually get 2 combat damage triggers, assuming that the first attack step actually dealt the damage. But it's also just an insane combat trick, because for those who don't know, this deck is all about making this Warsinger absolutely huge, or any other creature for that matter. So a critical hit is really nice here to give double strike. It also says if we roll a natural 20, we can return critical hit from our graveyard to our hand, which, you know, loses its combat's trickery, I guess, a little bit. Our opponent's going to know it's coming, but it's still really powerful. Double strike basically gives us a team of Battle Rage for our Warsinger, and anyone who's played against Death Shadow knows that that's a powerful effect. Speaking of natural 20s, we got Delina, the Wild Mage. This card is, it gives me Winota vibes. Just really weird Winota vibes, mixed with Mirror March. Mirror March is just an absolutely banger of a card. Anyway, 4 mana 3/2. Whenever it attacks, you choose a creature you control, then you roll a d20. If you get 1 to 14, you create a tapped and attacking token that is a copy of that creature, except for it's not legendary, and it has exile this at the end of combat. For 15 to 20, you can create one of those tokens, and you may roll again. So if we hit 15 to 20, we get to repeat and make another token, and then another token, and then another token. It all depends on how lucky we are. I'm not going to be manipulating the d20 in this particular deck, though there is a blue card, something Pixie. Can't remember its actual name. Not that one. I haven't got blue. That's why. Pixie Guide. This one would give you dice rolls, additional dice rolls anyway, and you can ignore the lowest one, because the highest option's always the best option for these ones. The good part about these dice rolls is you get a reasonable amount of value regardless of what happens, and then if you get a really good roll, you get an exceptional option, which in this case is repeating. But yeah, if we can get multiple Warsingers, that means multiple reanimations for our Warsinger, which means we can get back all of our lovely little creatures, because they can't possibly block them all, which is lovely. Minsk, Beloved Ranger, Naya 3/3. This is another new D&D card. When it enters the battlefield, you create Boo, a legendary 1/1 red hamster creature token with Trample and Haste. You can also pay X. Until the end of the turn, give target creature you control base power toughness XX, and it becomes a giant in addition to its other types, but you can only do this as a sorcery, so not so much a combat trick. But what this does mean is, if we have 4 mana available and nothing better to do, we can pump up our Warsinger. That's just kind of a little thing we can do. Otherwise, the token's already provided on the Boo there, with the Trample and Haste, to give us a pretty reasonable creature. It's also a good option for all of our counters and our combat tricks down the line, which is lovely. Speaking of, let's talk about the actual meat and potatoes of this deck. We've got Sparring Regiment and Luminarch Aspirant as kind of the build-around mechanics. So We have Sparring Regiment, 3 mana enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you learn. We can also learn with the Professor of Symbology in the early game as well. And whenever you attack, you put a counter on a creature and untap it. Luminarch Aspirant, during combat, puts a counter on a creature as well. So if we make this Warsinger very large, it means we can push through whatever our opponent is blocking with and get additional things. You know, the more damage we do, the better the value is. So we could maybe even get back a Delina if this is unblocked and has a counter on it, for example, which is really nice. So these are really good. Speaking of learning, we have the Professor of Symbology and Sparring Regiment, which means we get ourselves a little bit of a wish board. Professor of Symbology, being kind of the more important early game learn card here, allows us to mostly get environmental sciences, which on 3, if we miss our land drop, we can pay the 2 to go get our 3rd land, which means we never really whiff on 3 lands as long as, you know, we've got access to the Professor, and if we don't, then we've probably already drawn a land. The final thing, the final synergy for this deck that I'm really going to discuss is Selfless Savior and Alseid. Both of these give protection to our creatures, and they're also 1-drops at that. This means that the Warsinger only has to deal 1 damage in order to bring these back, and when they do, they provide an insane amount of protection to the Warsinger. So Alseid can give protection from black or red, or whatever our opponent's trying to use as removal for the Warsinger. It could also, as well, give protection from our opponent's blockers to swing through for lethal that way. It's pretty nice. And then Selfless Savior, you can sack it to give Indestructible to a creature until the end of the turn. So if you sack it to give Warsinger Indestructible, and Warsinger deals 1 damage, Selfless Savior is right back again, ready to give Indestructible over and over again. It's a really nasty little combo, and absolutely wonderful for us. Our only removal is Bone Crusher Giant and Rip Apart. I'm expecting to see a lot of classes enchantments in this format. So red and white, destroy an artifact or enchantment is going to be really nice. Otherwise, 3 damage to a creature or planeswalker should do a decent amount of damage there. That's essentially all I'm going to go into with the deck. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's content, and again, thank you very much to Wizards for supporting the channel and allowing me to make some wonderful sponsored early game content. So greatly appreciate it. Take care and enjoy the gameplay. This video is brought to you by the generous support of our wonderful patrons and channel members that you see here. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to cool content like sneak peeks, bonus videos, polls on future content, or access to a personal deck critique from myself every month, then hit the join button down below, or check out the Patreon link in the description. With all that said, let's get into the gameplay. Alrighty then, we're in, and I'd say this is a playable hand. It's turn 1, Alseid or Selfless Savior, turn 2, Bone Crush something, turn 3, play Bone Crusher, and then turn 4, maybe even double strike it through. Yeah, seems good to me. So, who do we want to lead off with? I do like the lifelink. I don't know if it's going to be relevant or not, but if our opponent's playing an aggro deck, then it's kind of a bit of a must-kill threat kind of thing. Volatile Fjord. Snowland, okay. So let's get in for 1. Play our mountain and pass the turn. Would always love to see a Warsinger. Pixie Guide. Huh, okay. So it's a blue-red dice rolling deck. We don't have 3 mana, 3 damage removal right now. Hello, Delina. How goes it? You're an interesting fella. Alright, let's see if we can stomp the Pixie Guide, because it's probably going to be a card I really want to get rid of. Opponent's not going to take the bait on that one, understandably so. And I do want something on the battlefield for Delina to actually care about. So maybe I just like hardcast Bone Crusher here. Getting rid of my removal sources a little bit sketchy, but I want to get pressure on our opponent, and I want to try out this Delina more than anything. That's the important part. Trying out cool cards is where we're at. So opponent just passes. That's extremely sketchy. But we do have an Alseid to protect anyway, so we can post-combat Delina if we don't need to use the Alseid's effect. I feel like our opponent's just going to let it go, though, even though it was a very sketchy past there. Maybe our opponent's just holding up counter magic. I can't really play through counter magic except for throwing cards at our opponent, so hopefully they'll let the fun cards resolve and counter the less fun ones. Nope, not the case. Alright, no Delina in this game, apparently. Boo Hiss. Faceless Haven. And Fire Prophecy the Bone Crusher Giant while I'm tapped out. That's pretty brutal. Oh my god. Extremely brutal. Luminarch Aspirant. And the way we have our mana set up, we don't have the white mana for it. What I can do, though, is I can go Professor of Symbiology, and I can go for the Environmental Sciences. From here, I can use that to grab a Plains, thin the deck, and then play a Selfless Savior. It's not the greatest move in the world, but it progresses our board state a little bit. It's the best we really can do. So I think it's just safe to say our opponent's just playing... Oh, you're allowed to play Delina, eh? I see how it is. That's not very fair, is it, chat? Not very fair at all. Ooh, Warsinger. Now that is pretty good. So we get to play Warsinger. Get to play Aspirant. Get to put a counter on the Warsinger to get it out of Fire Prophecy range and Frostbite as well. And... I think I'm just going to hold back, because the Professor of Symbiology is a decent block. I do have the Warsinger, but that puts it under threat of other burn spells. Oh dear. Are we dead? That could be us dead. Let's see what Delina can do. So, Delina spins the dice. And when the dice is spun, 15 to 20 creates you a token copy of a card. They get to pick the 16, so they get to roll again. Every time they win. Alright, they have ended their combo. That was a bit unlucky for them. We get to take their Delina off the board. And I think these two go away. Yeah. Alright. So, my turn. My turn's very exciting. At least I think it's very exciting. I get to go Venerable Warsinger, swing in for 5. I've got this critical hit here for a blowout as well on a double block. Beautiful. Alright, so let's just get the Bone Crusher out of here, I guess. Opponent's tapped out, so we're hitting him for 10 here, going through our opponent's creatures. And then this one deals 4. So guess what? We got our Delina. Oh, baby, it's back. It's back, baby. Alright. Seed and Halberblade, just play it because we can. And I'm feeling suddenly real good about this board state. Our opponent not feeling so good on that one. Beautiful. Oh, this deck's sweet. It used to be sweet, and now it's still sweet. On to the next game. Alrighty, we're in. We have Warsinger, we have an early game Aspirant or Halberblade here, removal, but we can't cast it just yet. So we do need a red source, but this is a fairly aggressive hand with the Halberblade and Aspirant anyway. And I love this curve. It's got our nice D&D cards to play with here as well. Opponent goes Forest and Wildwood Tracker. This is the one that, yeah, cares about Ooh, no, we haven't got the right color. Alright. Plains go. Yeah, this one cares about non-human creatures. There's another one, I think it's a 2-drop actually, that cares about tokens that I kind of got it mixed up with. So, pretty good start for them so far. Tracker can come in as a 1-mana 2/2. And a Swarm Shambler. There's our red source. So what do we want to do here? I could just set up the Aspirant play. Maybe even the Hollow Blade block. I kind of like the Aspirant play, though. Short of them going to combat and ramming through, I think I can't really be punished for it. Let's get our red source in there as well. I don't know. Maybe it's just not worth the effort or the risk. Because, like, Hollow Blade can discard here, and then Warsinger can bring something back, but I don't really have the card I want to bring back with Warsinger just yet. I think I'm just going to go with the Aspirant. Seems like a decent blocker that doesn't cost me too many resources. But comes with a slight risk of blowout here. Because ideally we want to be able to pump up the Warsinger so we can push through that way. So opponent gets in for that 2 again. We don't really mind so much. It's just the other 1/1s that we are terribly bothered by. Old Growth Troll. Ugh. Okay. Well, let's go with Venerable Warsinger. I'm going to start growing it, and hopefully we can get it out of fight range as well that way. Next turn, go Delina. We've got a 5/5 Warsinger, and then Delina can start doing its thing. Let's take another 4. Can't be doing this all day, but as I said, our Warsinger's getting larger. The Mammoth can probably pump into range. So let's see. I can stomp for 2 damage. But they can go Shambler, Mammoth block. I stomp. I win the trade-off there. Or they could not block and I put Delina into the graveyard with a Hollow Blade. Why would you do that? So now I can discard in response to an unblocked Warsinger to put Bone Crusher just into play, maybe. Let's send it and see what happens. Unblocked. Okay, so now I'm going to put Delina into the graveyard. Deal 5. Get Delina back. And I still have Bone Crusher and Rip Apart. I might just rip apart the Mammoth, honestly. It's the only one that I think reasonably could hit me for a decent amount of damage, or even get a great henge out. Question is, where do we go from here? Another Old Growth Troll. Okay. Not what we wanted to see there. We can make up the 8 damage we need off of a double Old Growth Troll block. I don't hate that. So if we put the Warsinger counter on, opponent's had enough. Well, okay. Fair enough. So what we're going to do is make a 6/6 Warsinger, swing in with Delina and start spinning some dice and seeing how many Warsingers we could make, to be honest. Because if the double trolls trade with the Warsinger, the token Warsingers can bring back the Warsinger. And we could also discard a Bone Crusher Giant as well, and an extra copy could do that. If they're unblocked and they block the Delina, then the Warsingers bring those back. A nice pump spell would have been nice, I guess, off of the tokens, so that we could bring back the Delina on a black damage there as well. Maybe that's something we want to iterate on, but for now it seems to be doing quite well. So on to the next game. Alrighty, we're in, and it's not a very D&D looking hand, but it's a good hand, I suppose, so we're going to keep it. Gonna go Swarm Shambler. Not a very D&D opening, so I feel validated. Alright, we're gonna go with... Oh, actually... This is our only... Well, we've got a green source here. Red, green, green, white. So this one actually does need to come down on white for an Alseed. Would I trade with Swarm Shambler here? Probably, actually. I think I would. It just gives us a Warsinger target in the graveyard, which is quite nice, especially considering it can then help protect the Warsinger long term. I doubt they'll trade, though. They can just turn it into a 2-2 and start swinging properly next turn. Werewolf Pack Leader. They are swinging in, and I'm happily taking the trade. We drew a mountain. So we're going to play that mountain. We're going to put a 3-1 in the way of our opponent's Pack Leader here. Probably going to go rip apart Alseed next turn if I have the double white. This is 4 mana to make it a 5-3 with Trample. I highly doubt they trade here. Yeah. Totally doesn't seem worth it. Ooh, Sparring Regimen. Now then. What's all this? Yeah, I think just setting up a really strong Hallerblade's pretty good. It's gonna easily outrace the Pack Leader long term, and we get to learn from it as well. What do we pick? We can do Environmental Sciences, so we have 2-drop, 2-drop. Yeah, I think that's the plan. Let's swing in. Make a 4-2. And pass the turn. Really strong opening for us here. Hopefully we get some D&D cards sooner rather than later. I seem to have a track record in these early access events of not drawing my new set release cards and then getting complaints that I'm not playing the D&D set, which is understandable. It's certainly understandable. Opponent's gonna good game me. Okay. Well, let's go Environmental Sciences. Grab a mountain. Play the mountain. Swing in for 4. Swing in for 5. Opponent passes. We're going to learn again. We're kind of getting up to the mascot exhibition now. It's probably not what I go and pick, but... Let's just go with Expanded Anatomy here, I think. Give some counters and Vigilance. We have Pseudo-Vigilance with the Sparring Regiment anyway, but... Ooh, now they get to draw 2 cards with this thing, if they attack with both. But remember, they're going to be attacking into my nasty board state. Okay. Nothing I can do about that. But that is another card for the Warsinger if we ever draw it. Delina, there we go. Alright. So, they used a Primal Might. I'm going to assume that they just drew it. Let's swing for 6. Gonna take it. Delina down. I can't be having them scoop without me showing at least 1 card. And I did sequence this wrong, because I could have gotten an Alseed down here. Which is a bit of an uh-oh oopsie, but... didn't end up mattering in the end. How does Sparring Regimen work with Delina? Whenever you attack... it's only 1 target creature. Okay, so it's not all of them. That would be pretty busted, admittedly. Which is why it didn't immediately occur to me, but... yeah, we're going to go with Delina here. Even just making a 3-1 that can be indestructible when it attacks as a token is pretty good. Multiple 3-1s, though, gets slightly more out of hand. We could even go with the Expanded Anatomy as well, make it a 5-4. And then they have to double block with the Pack Leaders, and then they die to the Hallerblade, which obviously is not a thing that can happen. So that would be probably my line of play there. And, yeah, on to the next one. Alright, we're in. We have a really solid hand here. We just need a red source, and we've got the Warsinger on turn 3 with a Luminarch Aspirant ready to go. We could get the land with the Professor of Symbiology as well. and a Minsk. I'm hoping to RNGesus we can get this card down. It would make my day. Snow-covered forest for our opponent. We are going to make sure that we absolutely hit our land drop here, so let's go with the Professor of Symbiology. Learn, get an environmental science. Like, if we skip our skip our turn here, then we want to have 3 drops ready to go. So let's go with this. Let's go red sauce. Play the red sauce. And pass. So now we could go Minsk. We could go Warsinger. Sparring Regiment. We have lots of options here. Opponent gets in for 3 and plays a Varys. Silvery Moon Ranger. 3 mana 3/3 with Reach and Ward. 1. Whenever you cast a creature or planeswalker spell, venture into the dungeon. This ability only triggers once each turn. Whenever you complete a dungeon, create a wolf. That seems like a very strong option for our opponent. I think I'm just going to play the Warsinger. They could have like a Primal Might to get in. We have played them already before and savaged them, I think is one way to describe it. So now it's their turn to beat me with a strong game here. Like, if they attack with both, they actually get to draw a card from the pack leader. Find the path. Venture into the dungeon. Does it do anything else? Adds 2 green mana on this land. Okay. So now they get to choose a dungeon. Is this triggered only once each turn? Yes. Okay, so they can venture. Each player loses 1 life. And then they venture because of the next werewolf as well. So they can make me lose 2 life unless I discard a card, which is something I actually want to do. They can discard a card, sacrifice a creature and an artifact and a land to get straight to the Cradle of the Death God. Which looks like that's what they want to do. There's a Vorinclex in the graveyard. So they're going to make a 4/4 Death Touch token, basically. Okay, so I could make a 5/5 Warsinger. It's not going to get me very far, unfortunately. But I guess it trades with their individuals over there. Let's get this on red. Only 2 mana remaining off the Sparring Regimen means I can't get the Environmental Sciences or whatever it's called. Expanded Anatomy. I'm thinking of the wrong one. We could wait a little while on it. Go maybe Luminarch Aspirant. And Minsk. Minsk makes a hamster. What about pumping the Warsinger here? That's maybe where we want to be. Yeah. It's probably what we want to be doing here. We can't really swing in with anything, so we're just going to pass. And then next turn, we should have a really solid swing. We got a 6/6 Warsinger ready to go if our opponent doesn't deal with it. Okay, they venture again. They have their 4/4 with Death Touch. I did forget about the Death Touching token. Ooh! Ooh! You hear the lute? Or whatever it is, a mandolin?
I hope we discover something new.
Venture into the dungeon. So they've completed a dungeon now, which is why they created a wolf token. Now they get to choose a new dungeon. This token's legendary as well, so they might want to go back to it because it'll probably be dead by then. But they're actually going to go to the Lost Mine of Phandelver instead. This one right here. Gonna swing in. 1 green mana here. Is interesting. I think we just block him. Could even block with the Minsk, to be honest. Trade off with the Varys. I think either way I get rid of an important card here, and I don't mind too much about an equal trade. Yep. It's totally fine by me. So we get to go Sparring Regimen. Learn. We're going to probably go with I could go reduced to memory next turn. That gets rid of the death touching token. Leaves him with a 3-2, but Warsinger can push through that. Yeah, I think that's probably my plan. And then let's get Warsinger back up to a 4-4. I want to be able to actually get aggressive with that. Gotta worry about this -7. It's realistic for them to have 2 dungeons completed then.
Come on, hurry up, let's go.
Let's go! So their plan really is Eliwick. Through and through. Oh wow, that goblin token. I love the art on that. Froghemoth. When it deals combat damage to a player, exile that many target cards from their graveyard. Ooh. Ooh, they are really, really hating on my deck right now. Okay, well, off for the trade. Selfless Savior, okay. So here what I can do is I could make the hamster a 3-3. And swing at Eliwick. And then my follow-up would be Warsinger Selfless Savior. I think that's the plan. I guess maybe even trading off the Professor might be just better. It's 1 extra point if they don't block it as well. So yeah, expect the double block. But that clears the board. And then lets me have this wonderful board instead. No fight spell will kill my Warsinger. Top 6 cards of your library, reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. If it's legendary, you gain 3 life. Put the rest on the bottom of your library at a random order. They have a pack leader.
Future friend.
A stranger is just a future friend. That is, it's a thing. It's certainly a thing. Ooh, Luminarch, Aspirin, and a reduced to memory here. So I can go Aspirin. Does this need to hit players? It does, unfortunately. Well, let's get rid of the token. They get 6 power here. But I get 6 power as well, and I get the ability to give Indestructible to my Warsinger. So I can take both off the board with my attack here. If they don't block, I could go with a Venerable Warsinger. Or I could threaten to take off Eliwick. If they just block here... Do I have 2 drops in my graveyard? I do. Alright, so if they single block, I get something. No matter what, really. I think I'm just sending it at them. I think the value is too much to handle here. Okay. So here, I'm probably just going to go with another Venerable Warsinger, kind of guarantee I get that value of recurring graveyards. If they had another Froghemoth as well, I really want to make sure they can't eat my graveyard. Gem Razor. That'll do. That gets rid of the Sparring Regimen. It's not a terrible downside for me, but certainly stops a fair bit of my increasing threat that is definitely looming over them here to win the game. A lot closer than our first game together. Good game. Beat them again. Yeah, they definitely had a better start this time, but the Warsinger value is just too much to handle. So the reason why I didn't really go with the Minsk is because I kind of like this token in play, and killing hamsters on this channel is not really what I had in mind, so, you know, I'm going to leave that one there. But I suppose what we could do is we could turn our Warsingers into base power 6/6s, which is you know, it's a thing. It's a thing, all right. But yeah, we definitely didn't really need it in this board state. I think just more Warsingers to make sure that our graveyard is just completely empty does a lot better. Because we can make this a 5/5, swing in for 6 here. If they double block here, then we've got a 5/5 getting through, which gets us back whatever we want. Another Warsinger, maybe a Professor of Symbiology. We had lots of options available anyway. Plus, we're disregarding top decks here, which could definitely go in our favor. We have a lot of good cards we could draw. But anyway, let's go for another game. Alrighty then, we're in, and I mean, you can't take any less than a nice double Bone Crusher hand with perfect, well, near perfect mana. We still need a green source, but we have no green cards, so we don't care. So we have a 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop, 5-drop. This hand's already written out. It just needs some D&D cards, and then we're in business. So our opponent on their 7. Are they going to keep it? They're going to go down to 6, in actual fact. So let's go turn 1 Selfless Savior. If he dies, it's a target for Warsinger, and then it's a repeatable protection spell. We've got a green source there, real nice. So let's see if our opponent goes for a 2-drop. Ooh, I don't remember seeing this land. It's pretty. Fighter class. Search your library for an equipment card, reveal it and put it into your hand, and then shuffle. Alright, first time seeing these classes, so they kind of act like sagas, but with a level up kind of theme to them. They get Dancing Sword. I think it's probably up there with the best of the equipments, especially in New Standard. Let's go with the Warsinger here. If I have to protect my Warsinger, I can absolutely do it without any concern whatsoever, because the next combat step will almost certainly get me a Selfless Savior back. We've also got Dent of the Bugbear as well. Warriors get +1/+1. It is a 3/3, so we're going to be able to push through that nice and easily. Oh, baby, it's a Delina. I'm getting very excited here. Alright, so we hit you for 3. Having Delina with a Selfless Savior protection spell here is real nice. Gonna actually go for the block. Right, well, we're definitely not gonna just let them have the trade so easily. So, let's get rid of that creature. I could have stomped there, and that would have allowed me to get my Selfless Savior back. That could be the correct line, but it does stop me from getting Delina down, which is definitely the thing that I want to do the most in the world. So it's hard to say. There's called a Forge Master. Fabled Passage. Probably haven't seen this card too much. I think it'll see a little bit more play in New Standard if equipments really take off. We'll get to what it does in a moment, though. So we're going to go with Selfless Savior here. Going to Bone Crush Stomp the Coal. Don't really need to get into what it does now. And now we can swing in. Let's get Delina going. So we create a copy of Warsinger here, I think. 19. Roll again. 4. Okay, just another Warsinger copy. So now we can set the Selfless Savior because we know that we're going to get it back. Not that we need to. It's just going to go down to 4 here, and then we lose a couple of tokens. And board state goes back. We managed to Delina, and we got some decent results off of it as well. We got 2 Selfless Saviors to protect our entire board. Our opponent is on 4, so they're going to need something real good here. Brunor Battlehammer. Okay, well, because I have absolutely no respect for our opponent's board state right now. In fact, we're just gonna swing in with the team. We're gonna go Warsingers again. Only got 1 this time, but that's totally fine. Good game. So, make you indestructible, and then swing around our opponent. Delina. Delina's kinda dope. It's almost feels a little bit like a Winota. And I wonder if it's an elf shaman. It could be an alternative kind of Winota card. So in non-rotated standard, maybe this has a shot. I don't know. Most people are using the Pixie in blue to get the highest roll of 2 dice rolls, so that you can keep rolling again and again and again. As long as you get reasonably lucky, you have kind of pseudo-infinite that way. But yeah, it's a real strong card. I really appreciate it. So that's probably going to do it for today's video. We accomplished the goals that we set out to do for the most part. We didn't really get a Minsk activation, but we definitely had a game or two where we could certainly use it. And I think Minsk is still a very cool card, and obviously your boy Boo over here is is definitely a card to be worried about. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And before we end off, I do want to say another quick shout out to Wizards of the Coast as well for allowing us access to an early access sort of event. Although we couldn't stream it, which is really fun to get you guys involved in a nice bit of a community kind of thing. It is still very nice that they have offered us a way of getting content out nice and early on day one for you guys. So do really appreciate it, and shout out to them for sponsoring the channel for this video. Take care, guys, and have a wonderful day.